One of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make is they chase too many revenue streams. I built a business that was worth $700 million. Exposure times conversion equals results. Never let money stop you from executing on a good idea. The only way you'll build a championship team is if the team learns from the errors that they make. I'm looking for a business that grows even when I take time off. Hi, I'm Ryan Blair, New York Times bestselling author and serial entrepreneur. I've had $2 billion in sales and $1 billion in exits, and today I'm going to share with you some information that's going to help you become more successful as an entrepreneur. I hope you enjoy. When I first started out as an entrepreneur and I ventured into starting a company on my own, I met an investor and I told him that I wanted to build a broadband wireless concept. This was prior to the days where everyone had broadband. This is prior to DSL and cable, and I'm aging myself here, but a while ago. And the first thing he said is, I'd like to look at your business model. And I looked at him like a deer in the headlights. I had no idea what a business model was. I had no idea how to create one. I was lost. And he was so generous, and this is why I know it was divine. He said, I tell you what, I'll give you $5,000 and I'll introduce you to the person to create your business model. And once you create the business model, then I will contemplate investing and you could pay me back out of my investment the $5,000. Total gift. I said, okay. And so next thing you know, he sits me down with the person to create my business model. And I'll never forget, I had no idea what I was doing, and the person asked me a bunch of different questions, and she's working on the spreadsheets, and she's doing this, that, and the other, and next thing you know, I've got a business model, and I go present to him the business model. He looks it over, and he goes, okay, not only will I invest in you, but I will invite many of my friends to invest as well. That single meeting led to me raising, at 21 years old, I raised $3 million. To start my business. Without a college degree, I still had braces on. I had no idea what I was doing, and yet I was able to raise $3 million because I had a business model that was worthy of a meeting with a venture capitalist. That was the beginning of me learning how to create a business model, and that's the purpose of your business plan and your business model, is to raise funding. Then once you raise the funding and you get these esteemed venture capitalists and investors and titans of industry on your board of directors, then they browbeat you into running your business off of a business model. And when I say browbeat, I mean that literally. I walked out of meetings with some of the most difficult discussions that you could imagine as a CEO. This was a recurring theme until I learned, for lack of better words, religion around business models. And my team will tell you, when the team comes up with great ideas, I will often say, that's not our business model. Great idea, but that's not our business model. Or we're testing these components of our business model right now, and we haven't gotten the results that we anticipate in the tests that we're running, so we can't add more tests. Everything I do in my life, I think through a business model because of the venture capitalists and the people that invested in me and drilled this into me over and over and over again. Now, when ViSalus was going through a very difficult time, my training out basically, I grabbed my co-founders together, I sat us down in the room and I said, we have to create a new business model. Economy had fallen apart in 2008. Luxury spending was down. Access to credit was down. People were not going to invest in the business model or buy products from ViSalus in the business model that we had. And so I said, we have to tear to shreds our old business model, and we have to create a new business model. And I pulled my chief financial officer into a room, I pulled my co-founders into a room, many of my field members into a room, and I was obsessed about finding a new model. We had to find a new business model to meet the new consumer, because the consumer sentiment had changed from a luxury consumer that was getting free money in the mail. People were sending them free credit cards all day long. Their home values were going up by hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. You could just get an appraiser to come over and you'd tell them what you wanted your price to be of your home, and they'd appraise it at that, and then your friend down the street would give you a loan, and then you do it all over again 3 to 6 months later, and you just kept saying, oh, I'd like my home to be another 40% more valuable, and the appraiser would come in and the appraiser would be sure it's 40% more valuable, and then your buddy down the street would give you a mortgage, and all of a sudden your home had appreciated 40%. And many of you know what I'm talking about, because in the 2006 through 2008 timeframe, it was an easy money world. And then the world changed. And now all of a sudden people were very conscious about their spending. They're more savings oriented. They wanted to make sure that they got value out of the dollars that they spent. And so we had to create a brand new business model. And a lot of what I'm going to teach you is what I've learned throughout thousands of hours in the boardroom. It's what I've learned by being mentored by some of the world's greatest entrepreneurs, some of the greatest venture capitalists and business titans in the history of humanity. I count the late founder of Microsoft, Paul Allen, as one of those people that evaluated my business model at Visalis and gave me encouragement and also gave me direction and also gave me some things to consider because it didn't meet his standards of excellence in many cases. So I would show up to these titans of industry, I'd show them my business model, and they would often say, your math is wrong. They'd often question it. They'd say, there's no way you're going to acquire customers the way you described. They'd make fun of it, they'd laugh at it, and that would drive me crazy because I would see the gap between where I was as an entrepreneur and where they were by the very questions that they would ask me and by the errors that they would often find in my business model. A business model is like a set of architectural plans for a house. In real estate, if you wanted to build a home, let's say you just decided you're just gonna start building. No plans, no game plan, you're just gonna start building and see how the home turns out at the end of the day. Would that be a wise decision for home building and real estate? Probably not, right? I would venture to think that if I just said, you know what, I wanna build a new home and I'm gonna go to Home Depot today and I'm gonna hire a couple people and we're just gonna start doing it. I'm gonna start buying doors and windows and we're gonna figure out how to put the doors and windows up. I would probably go through a lot of doors and windows and through a lot of rain and challenges, and it'd probably be a mess. And at the end of the day, the likelihood of me ever building a beautiful quality home would probably be pretty limited. Probably wouldn't build a great home, would I? Now, I hate to tell you this, but many of you are approaching your business the way I just described building a home. That probably would not be the way that you would go about building a home, but many of you are going about it that exact way in the building of your business. And so tonight, I'm gonna teach you what I've learned about business models, about building businesses. And I use that because if you're building a home that's going to be sustainable, that's going to provide value for your family and shelter for your family and security for your family for the next 50 or 100 years, you can get your heads conceptually around what it would take to do that, the type of experts that you call in, the type of planning that you would do, the type of architectural plans you would want, the type of decisions that you would make. You would get that in your head, but conversely, your business is far more valuable than any home you'll ever build. I mean, it could be. I built a business that was worth $700 million. There's no homes worth $700 million unless you're talking about Buckingham Palace or something of that nature, but the common household is not worth $700 million. Your business could be worth $700 million if you just built it like a home. We're gonna go through it. This is all that I've learned after 25 years of building business models and having had billions of dollars worth in my hands and hundreds of millions of dollars in profits. This is the most important things that I can tell you. The main drivers of business. This is a general perspective on business models. When you look at different models, there are different drivers, but most businesses can fit into these 9 categories. 1, you have value proposition. This refers to the unique product or service that a company offers, which provides value to its customers and sets it apart from its competitors. When you think about your value proposition, you want to think about how are you different than the competition and how are you providing more value than what you're charging. We're always conscious as a company as to the value that we provide, and we want to create a situation where we provide more value by way of our teachings, our community, our events, and our experiences than what you actually pay for it. 2 is your target customer segment. In other words, people talk about this as being an avatar, for example. You might hear that term. When I first heard the word avatar, I thought it was a movie. I was like, what are these new age business people talking about, avatars? Where I come from, we call that a target customer segment. Knowing who the company's primary customers are and understanding their needs is crucial for designing products or services that meet those needs. One of the reasons why we talk about spiritual entrepreneurship, and we'll keep talking about it, is because we want to work with entrepreneurs who put their spirituality first, because that's who we are as individuals, and that's how we're segmenting our specific work. Now, revenue streams. This is an important one. This is how a company generates income. It's a major driver. It's probably one of the most important drivers. This can include sales of products or services, subscription fees, advertising revenue. These are your revenue streams. One of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make is they chase too many revenue streams simultaneously, and they never actually build one. My team will tell you, anytime we deviate from the revenue stream that we are experimenting with, I call them back. I say, no, we can't do that. I love the idea, but we have a revenue stream right now that we're experimenting with, that we're committed to, that we've invested in, that we're spending a lot of money on, and I don't want to deviate from that because we have yet to perfect it. Many entrepreneurs, we want to chase shiny objects, and we've done this at AlterCall. We're not immune to this. Number 4 is cost structure. Understanding controlling your costs is important. This includes your fixed costs, which might include rent, salaries, utilities, your variable costs, your raw materials. In the case of my old company, Visalis, I had a product with a lot of soy. And when the price of soybeans went up, so did the price of my product, or at least the cost to make my product. And so we had to make some key decisions as to, do we transfer that cost? How do we manage that cost? What are the key strategies that we're going to utilize to ensure that we maintain our margins? Key resources. These are the assets necessary to deliver the value proposition. This can include human resources, intellectual property, physical assets, and financial resources. Number 6, key activities. These are the main operations that a company performs to deliver its value proposition, such as production, marketing, sales, and customer service. We produce a lot of content. So at AlterCall, one of our key activities would be video production, content production. And we spend a considerable amount of money producing that. Key partnerships. This is your network of suppliers and partners that make the business model work. We have partnerships with a lot of different companies at AlterCall. We have key partnerships with our advertising vendors like Facebook and YouTube and Google, and we have to make sure that we're investing in those partnerships because they're mission critical to our business. One of the strategies that you can utilize to scale a business very quickly, and I've mentored many of our private clients on this, is establishing a key partnership with a company that's much larger than yours. You get to trade off of their credibility. One of the things that I did at Visalis often was I would look for manufacturers that had strong R&D teams. So I didn't have to hire 100 food scientists. I could go work with a manufacturer that had great food scientists, and then I could tap into the R&D team of that manufacturer, mitigating me having to build an R&D team or build a much larger R&D team to be able to provide the foods that we provide at our company. So key partnerships is very important. Channels. This is the means that a company delivers its product or service to the customer. This could be online, retail, direct sales. This is your channel. How are you delivering this? Many of you are digital, so you deliver your product digitally. That would be a channel. Customer relationship, number 9. This is how a company interacts with its customers at every single stage of the life cycle. Are you going to outsource your customer service? Are you going to only do digital customer service, chat, email? Are you going to have live 24-hour, 7-day-a-week customer service at some of my prior companies? All of these decisions you have to make in the construction of your business model. But for example, if you say to keep our cost structure down and our customer satisfaction high, we are going to outsource our customer service to people who know nothing about our product, know nothing about our company, and are not going to do a good job serving our customers. Do you think you'll meet that objective? Probably not. Or you might have to send your team to go train your outsourced service provider so that they can represent your brand and your company with the same quality that you would. But many entrepreneurs, they don't think like that. They go, oh, I'm going to keep my costs down, and so I'm going to outsource my customer service. I've had to convince entrepreneurs to not outsource customer service, to not outsource sales, to not outsource marketing, because there's so many service providers out there that'll lead you to believe that you can just outsource everything and that you can just go vacation, just go check in once a day on your dashboards, and your whole company is going to grow and scale and build. All you have to do is find 4 to 5 vendors and you'll be a billionaire. That's what the marketplace will have you believing in today's day and age. And I will tell you that if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Okay, so these are the basic functions of a business model. Now, I want you to realize the most important thing to walk away with is this. What are the key drivers of your business? And you should only have a few. And then those key drivers, when you work with your financial expert or business modeler or finance team, those key drivers become the foundation for how you make every other decision within the business. How you staff your customer service, how you invest in channel, how you invest in customer relations, how you manage your cost structures, and so forth. So when you're building a business plan, there's 2 concepts. There's top down, which is like saying, I want to grow by 20% per month, which is great. I'd like to grow by 20% per month compounded as well. And when I do that, I will spend the money like this. Those business plans rarely come to fruition. The second way to orchestrate a business model is what's called bottom up, which is you go to your unit economics. Bottom up means how many salespeople are going to be selling how many products for what amount to what customers. What is my cost, my lead acquisition, my customer acquisition? What does it cost for me to recruit and train salespeople? What is the quota of a salesperson? What is the productivity of a salesperson? And how many units will a salesperson sell in a given month? How many products will be sold by way of the marketing channel versus the sales channel? And you model all of that, and then you build your entire plan around those models. Now, I know that I'm talking about some pretty complex stuff here. I have been in the weeds on this subject for many years, and AlterCall is a product of this wisdom, and we're constantly tweaking and tuning, and this is something I'm actually implementing and working on in real time. In fact, we have an initiative at AlterCall underway, updating our business model in real time. As the money goes out the door, the business model gets updated, so that way I can look at a dashboard and I can see when we're eroding our margins or when we're going to be able to scale to a level of significant profitability and so forth. Here's some key principles and formulas that I want to share with you. Exposure times conversion equals results. This is a simple formula that a mentor of mine named Gordon Watson, a famed venture capitalist and titan and consultant, shared with me, and it stuck with me. I got this principle when I was about 20 years old, maybe even younger. This reminds me of my marketing and sales strategy, that first and foremost, I need exposure. How am I going to get exposure? My strategy around exposure might be PR, advertising, word of mouth. What is my exposure engine? And I want to try to quantify that. And then how am I converting that? Many entrepreneurs, they want to do PR, they want to do podcasts, they want to get on Oprah, but they would have no way to take the telephone calls once they get on Oprah and 10,000 people come calling in. They won't have anybody take the telephone calls. So conversion is your sales team, your shopping cart, your optimization of your shopping cart, your A/B testing of your shopping cart, your messaging, your A/B testing of your messaging. This is the things that convert. So you have exposure times conversion, and that equals the result. If you want to drive the top line of your business plan, you need to invest in those two quadrants simultaneously. The other thing I like to remind myself, if true equals do. Oftentimes when you're developing a business model, and I've had it where I've cracked a code, where I have discovered a secret that was not apparent, that if I just put a little bit of gas on this part of the business, that it would spit out nonstop profitability, and it would create a profit machine. And when that epiphany came through, I had to have the faith to say, hit the gas and it's all gonna work out. I had financial advisors tell me, no way is this gonna work. In fact, at Visalis, when we came up with the Body by Vi 90-day challenge, a person from McKinsey, a Wharton graduate who had worked for the holding company that acquired us, wrote a scathing review of our new business model and report and said, Body by Vi will be the death of Visalis. And this person had more degrees than me, was more articulate than me, probably smarter, but he missed what I saw. I saw a mathematical scenario that I knew with the team that we had and the resources we had could occur. And that business model was met with so much skepticism from the Wharton MBAs and the Harvard graduates that were part of the holding company. And I wish you could have been there when the tables turned and they were applauding me. They're inviting me, to speak at their conferences, asking me to be on their boards. And the business model that we had built turned out $100 million in profit a year, and grew from 9 million in sales to 635 million in sales in 24 months. So if true equals do. Now, another strategy for business models I'm going to share with you is the 70-20-10 rule. This is something we utilize internally here at AlterCall. We invest 70% into our core revenue experiments. Revenue streams would be one way to describe it, but 70% of everything we do is focused on that core. Then 20% of what we invest is adjacent to the core. And then 10% is what we would call a venture bet. If we're looking at allocating $100 toward marketing, we'll take 70 cents and put it behind something that's already working, that's the core. We'll take 20 cents and put it behind something adjacent to the core. For example, we have core principles. One of the things that we've experimented with is a secondary principles product, but then we have enlightened entrepreneur principles. So we might decide to do a test with 20 cents on the Enlightened Entrepreneurs Principles and see how that goes. That's adjacent to the core. And then 10% is a venture bet. And that might be that we invest in our Moon Mountain facilities and we decide that we're going to see if we can take people off the grid and see how that goes. And that's with 10%. Another principle that I reiterate over and over is the path is math. This principle is just to remind me that we need to find the mathematical equation to where we have a sustainable, profitable, perpetual business. I'm looking for a business that grows even when I take time off. I'm looking for a mathematical model in my marketing, my sales, my staffing, my recruiting, my cost structures. I'm looking for a mathematical model that I can operate and that I can lead the team with. Now, I know some of you spiritual folks, like I am, go, math and spirituality don't coexist. And I have to break it to you that math is a part of spirituality. The universe is made out of mathematics. The Hebrew language that many of us study is a mathematical language. Math is a part of spirituality. You gotta figure it out. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to learn calculus. This is rudimentary business model math. This is not advanced calculus. And also, the cheat code that I have to convey to you that I learned is if you're not great at business model math, hire someone who is. Because as entrepreneurs, we don't have to be doctors and lawyers. We can hire doctors and lawyers. We don't have to be mathematicians. We can hire mathematicians. We don't have to be everything. We don't have to encompass every skill necessary to build a scalable business. We just have to know how to hire people that have the skills to build a scalable business. Now, some financial principles I'm going to share with you, and this is a very important thing that I have learned. And the first one is never let money stop you from executing on a good idea. That's one that I remind myself. When a good idea shows up, the creator is going to find a way to get me the money that I need to execute on that good idea. I have full faith in that. So I never go into fear. We can't do that. I might hear fear. My lower self chimes in, says, that's going to be tough to pull off this Moon Mountain concept. Another principle, and this is a management axiom that's been passed down for generations. I don't remember who said it first, but if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. One of the things that I drive home constantly, and I would not give AlterCall an A in this category yet, but we're going to get to A there. And that is that we need to measure everything. We have invested in systems to enable us to measure. We've invested in team members that are enabling us to measure. In fact, every sales call that our team does, which we are now at about a forecasted rate of 20,000 a year, will be measured by our AI systems that we're building so that we can improve them. So we're looking at every element of our business, every place where we're touching, and we're asking ourselves, how can we measure it so that we can improve it? We're even measuring our precision of language in coaching calls, which has never been done to my knowledge before, where you're measuring the precision of the language of the coach and the precision of the language of the recipient. And then you're measuring how their language improves over time. We're measuring emotional sentiment of the coach and of the client, which has never been done to my knowledge, not in this context anyways. And then we're improving it. And then we're scoring not only emotional sentiment over time, language precision improvement over time. We're looking at the agreements that are made between coaches and clients. We're looking at the principles that are exchanged between coaches and clients. And then we're scoring the overall process over time, and then scoring that against thousands of coaching sessions. And then literally it'll be 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, looking for discoveries and things that we can measure and improve upon. So we're investing a substantial sum of money into these systems because our intention is to build a business that scales to a multi-billion-dollar business and it makes an impact on a global level. So that's our operating mandate. So of course we're going to spend a ton of money in R&D. Of course we're going to spend a lot of money in systems and infrastructure and operational team members because we're here to build a multi-billion-dollar business. We're not here to, build a hobby. So if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, is one of the key filters that I utilize in making decisions. If this is going to help me measure and help me improve the business, then it's a worthy investment. Henry Ford has a quote, I live by it, I love it, and I've shared it often, I'll share it again here. He said that if you need a machine and you don't buy it, you end up paying for the machine and you don't get it. When my team comes to me and says, I need a new laptop, I don't want to go spend another $4,000 on a new laptop. Like, I would prefer to spend $200 on a laptop. But when I have some of the world's best scientists and best coders, and they ask me for a $4,000 laptop, if it's gonna make them feel better about their job, if it's gonna make them type faster, if it's gonna make them process faster, think faster, feel happier, be more productive in their job, is that worth $4,000? Yes. But sometimes we're penny wise and pound foolish as entrepreneurs. So I buy the machine for my team so that way they're more productive. When Henry Ford was doing this, software wasn't a part of the equation. It was all hardware. Now much of what we do as entrepreneurs can be done in the cloud. And so these are the modern age machines, are the software suites and the other various vendors that you plug into in the business model that you're creating. And the last one is the creator is my venture capitalist. And I remind myself of that because we chose not to go the traditional VC route at AlterCall. We chose to work with our #1 clients. We chose to work with those people that wanted to see this vision to reality, that believed in spiritual entrepreneurship, that believed in the team that we're putting together, believed in our vision. And so, we've called in a small group of investors, and that small group of investors has been guided to us by the #1 venture capital of all time, the creator himself, right? So I remind myself of that. When I see news stories about this company getting 100 million or this company getting another 100 million or whatever the case is, I just remind myself that I already have the best venture capitalists of all time. You can take that belief, or that knowing rather, and adopt that right here and now, that your business already has a great venture capitalist behind it. Now, some of the energy leaks that we want to eliminate. There's a few that we're looking to eliminate in the building of your business model. One, unforced errors. I am not a perfect human being. I still occasionally get triggered. I have a bit of a football coach mindset sometimes. And when we make a mistake, I rarely get triggered. But when we make a mistake, not once, not twice, but 3 times, when we've talked about it at length, that's when I start to have my patience tested. I'm always trying to prevent unforced errors from occurring. The only way you'll build a championship team is if the team learns from the errors that they make. We don't penalize and punish errors, but we do get pretty focused and pretty disciplined when we make the same error more than once. Another thing in building your business, money doesn't lead, it follows. Many people in building their business plans, they like to say, oh, I'm gonna build $1 billion business. I'm gonna show you a plan of someone who did that. It's like, you're not gonna build $1 billion business unless you acquire hundreds of thousands of customers, or maybe even millions of customers, depending on the type of business you're building. And so I like to see business plans that focus on the thing that generates the money, not the money itself. And then energy management equals time management. This is one of the key foundations to building your business. You have to invest in your culture. You have to invest in the energy that you bring to your team, and then you have to invest in energizing your team. That might mean bringing your team to an abundance experience. That might mean getting your team coaches, getting your team mentors. You have to invest in the energy of your team in order for your team to thrive. I'm constantly investing in myself. My fellow team members are constantly investing in themselves. And then we also bring great people to our team. We recruit great people to come talk to our teams, and we're always investing in our team. All right, I'm gonna share with you some models. There's many models out there. I've just picked a couple that are interesting to me. So here's the AlterCall model. Now, I'm not gonna take you through the entire model. We have a set of architectural plans, as I mentioned. And our architectural plans call for us to be a roughly $154 million a year in revenue business in 5 years. Year 1 is 2023. Year 5 is 5 years from today, 2028. We're in the red in the first 2 years. We're investing $1 million in year 1, another 1.7 in year 2. And then from there, we start to turn a profit. This is what's called EBITDA. This is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. I know it's a finance term, but if you ever meet an investor or financial person, they say what your EBITDA is, that's what it is. Our EBITDA grows from -1, -1.7. And the reason why that's happening is because we're investing in machines. And by machines, I mean people, AI infrastructure, software, and so forth. And you can see by year 5, we have a $50 million EBITDA. Now my intention is to grow it far beyond that. The plan that I've submitted to you is what I would call a base case scenario. We'll be just fine if we do less than that. I won't be happy with it, but we'll be fine. If we do this, we have, at the end of a 5-year run, we have a business worth roughly $1.2 billion. It's somewhere between 1 billion and 1.5 billion for an average of about 1.2 billion. Now, I have built businesses, as I mentioned earlier, that went from 9 million to 620 million. If we can crack the code and iterate here to the same degree that I was able to do in my prior existence, then we might have a company that's worth several $billion in 5 years. If it doesn't happen in 5 years, it'll happen in 10, because we will keep iterating on this business model until we crack the code and until we get the 9 elements that I shared with you completely dialed in and operational, and we build from there. So this is a set of architectural plans for the AlterCall business. It is a work in progress. We're always updating it. We're always adding to it. We're refining it. And I just share it with you because I want you to see that not only do we talk about this stuff, but we're actually doing it. That's one of the big differences in working with us than working with many other companies that are out there, is that we're scaling and building a multi-billion-dollar business. And so you have the benefit of learning how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and then you're also benefiting from the investments and the trial and error that we're making. As Becky said in my private client coaching calls with her, I'm teaching her from the vast experience that we've had in the 3.5 years of building this business, and I'm sharing with her the best wisdom that I have to offer so that she doesn't make the same mistakes that I do. And the wisdom I'm sharing with her often might be, you need to buy this piece of software, or invest in this vendor, or you need to be thinking about this or thinking about that, or the next new hire that you need to hire should be this. And I'm giving all this information because I'm actually doing it and then teaching it, where many others in the industry, they talk about what they once did, or they might be talking hypothetically altogether. Now, this is another business model that I'm fascinated by because it's in the news recently. Many of you have heard of OpenAI. Their business model is very interesting because it's different. They have a nonprofit at the top of their business model, and then they have a for-profit that actually is doing the commercial services. The for-profit is governed by the nonprofit. The for-profit has investors. Once the for-profit returns 100 times to their investors are no longer a part of the business. So their investors dissolve out after they receive 100 times back, which is a pretty significant return. It's a very fascinating new concept of a new business model, very innovative. I've studied business models my whole career, and I've never heard of one like this, governed by a nonprofit, especially not a startup, governed by a nonprofit with a 100x cap on the return to investors. Their operating mandate's a little bit different. They have research as one of their key functions of their business, public goods and provision, safety and ethics, partnerships and cooperation, commercial products, community engagement, policy and advocacy. This is the foundation of their business model. Now, another business model out there that many of you might be familiar with, a good friend of mine, Tony Robbins. He and I have different approaches, but he's paved the way for many of us in this space, so I have to pay reverence and respect to him. But it's pretty obvious if you look at what he does. This is how his business model works. He has public speaking, he has books and audiobooks, coaching and training programs, digital products, affiliate marketing and partnerships. You see him do this a lot. You see him doing affiliate marketing and partnerships with Matthew McConaughey, most recently, and a variety of others, that all of a sudden Tony and Matthew are doing something together. Tony and this person are doing something together. And then obviously he has his nonprofit work. So this is how his business is broken down. Now, this is one that's non-public information, so please don't share it outside this group. I was an investor in this company. It's called Heal. And one of the reasons why I invested was, and this is a 2016 investment I made, the company went on to raise hundreds of millions of dollars and provide a massive impact. It was providing doctors on demand. So I'm not a person that wants to wait for a doctor. I don't want to go to the doctor's office and sit there for an hour and get sick because the person next to me is coughing all over me. I'd much rather have the doctor come into my house, have the insurance cover it. I don't risk infectious disease. I don't have to waste my time driving to and from the doctor's office, and I get the doctor for 30 minutes, as opposed to the doctor giving me 2 minutes, a prescription, and moving on. That was the value proposition they pitched to me. I was a founding investor of this company, and here's some metrics that they shared in 2016. They had 4,500 plus happy Heal patients. The revenue they generated per visit was an average of 154. The average usage was 5.4 uses per person per year, which Heal's value proposition to the insurance providers was, because of Heal, people went to the doctor more. And because they went to the doctor more, they were able to prevent more chronic related issues. Because the reason why people get chronic related issues is because they don't ever see a doctor, the issues accumulate and so forth. Their lifetime value based on their margin was $1,240. When the entrepreneurs pitched me Heal, they knew their numbers. Many entrepreneurs have asked me to invest in their businesses and they cannot tell me what their numbers are. Don't share this, this is confidential as an investor. This is old data, so this is no longer relevant, but I wanted to share with you a real world example in confidence. If you look at Heal, in 2015, they only did 141,000, but in 2018, they were projecting to do 79 million. This is part of the reason why they were able to raise hundreds of millions of dollars from some very esteemed investors. They anticipated growing a profit margin. They had their user acquisition costs. These are the key drivers: personnel, marketing, advertising and marketing, and so forth. And they anticipated building a positive EBITDA business by the year 2018. Now this is another business model, one I did not invest in. They planned to burn 52 million in 2017. They planned to burn 98 million in 2018. And they planned to burn 75 million in 2019. Their equity, capital, and so forth, this is their financial model that they had. I didn't like it. I didn't believe in it. I didn't invest in it. I'm lucky I didn't invest in it. It didn't turn out to be a great investment. But as you can see, they had some big numbers. They knew their numbers, and this is what they took me through, and this is why I decided not to invest. They were gonna have 488 million in notes payable, for example. Now, the action steps. So the action steps that I leave you with here today: 1, what are the main drivers of your business? Do you know that? 2, what area do you need to focus on the most of the 9 drivers? 3, what revenue streams are you testing? 4, what cost structure improvements do you need to make? 5, what metrics do you need to know? As we said, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And my last is, what are you not measuring that you should? Every one of us has something in our business that we should be measuring, but we're not. And I am a fanatic about this stuff, as my team will tell you, and I can find things that we're not quite measuring that we need to measure. Hence the reason why we've invested in a world-leading research team, an AI team. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, help boost this video. I want to get the word out about my work, and I could use your help. Thank you so much, and God bless. If you want to learn more about how I help entrepreneurs scale their businesses and the work that I do with regard to culture, I'm offering an hour of my time to 8-figure entrepreneurs scaling to 9 figures. Or if you're a 9-figure entrepreneur scaling to 10, I'd be happy to talk to you for an hour where we can dive into tactics and strategies on culture or anything else that you're up against as an entrepreneur scaling. It's on me because I want to meet people doing big things in the world, and I want to share with you what I'm up to as well. Go ahead and click on Learn More, book your time, and I look forward to meeting you.